Hey, welcome to Command HQ. I am Brock Ferdine, here with you as always. I wanted to start the stream off with something kind of funny, so let's play this.
An email that I just got saying congratulations on your pregnancy. If you're going to wear old bus driver pants, you have to expect emails like this. So thanks for that. No, I'm not pregnant. I actually lost my uterus to cancer last year. And this is what women of my age look like. So if it is offensive to you, that is unfortunate. Think about the emails that you send. Just going to respond to an email that I just got saying congratulations on your pregnancy. If you're going to wear
You wish more weather people or people on regular TV are like this, you know? Whatever happened to the ability to be able to respond? We don't have that anymore, do we? This is Canada. Looks relatively recent too, but I thought that was kind of funny. Couple stories in the queue today. I wanted to rotate a few different topics, and I also wanted to keep the stream relatively brief to 15 or 20 minutes if I can. I usually go over that. However, if I can, at the most, keep the stream to about 30 minutes. So I'm going to keep a watchful eye on the duration clock here and talk about some of the stuff that I've been hearing. Agent X has weighed in on a couple of these topics. So some of it is kind of been synthesized in that direction. But I wanted to talk about, you know, this World War III thing. So we had dueling events because Israel took out an Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander in Syria. Apparently they were setting up some command post in Syria, Iran was. And Israel took him out with a drone strike. Now, this is similar to the whole Soleimani saga. And here's a picture of both of them together. Syed Razi Mousavi left is pictured next to Qassem Soleimani. Now, Iran has pledged to retaliate and that Israel will, quote, pay the price after Tehran, I always pronounce this name wrong. Tehran claims IDF airstrike killed top Revolutionary Guard commander. Now, the other event here obviously is this crazy ads. Is the
I'm glad you like my eyewear, honey.
What the hell's going on here?
Got a pen. I need some glasses. I got to see out of
Okay,
here,
now my audio's all
farsighted,
jacked up.
computer, bifocal, and then the sunglass thing. Oh yeah, I said, go on and give me the.
Okay. U.S. launches retaliatory strikes after drone attack on Iraq military base. Wounds 3 U.S. service members, according to the Pentagon. Now, these dueling events, you know, certainly are pushing us closer and closer to a world conflict, emerging the Ukraine and the Israeli-Hamas situation into one global war. And it just seems like every day you're hearing more and more. You're hearing these little events that are just putting us closer to that ledge, getting in the center here. And so that's kind of my take on that situation. I always forget. I'm getting a little bit better at checking Stream comments. So let's see. Oops. Okay. All right. So on Christmas, we had a lot of protests in New York. Here's one video. It's about a minute and 15 seconds long. Turn the volume up. Let's play. These protesters must all be the idiots who are ripping down the hostage banners. Imagine having so much time on your hands that the one day where people actually put these resentments and these grievances behind them, Christmas, they're out protesting, disrupting traffic, making it more difficult for regular people to go see their families. I mean, even in World War I, you had French and German sides come together. You had English and German sides come together for one day. Okay, so these far left protesters are calling Joe Biden, quote, Genocide Joe. That's the nickname from the signs that you're seeing. And of course, these are the same Democrats, this is New York City, by the way, who voted for Joe Biden, who voted for the ruling Democrat Party out there, and have installed these party bosses over the entire political structure to hierarchically instill this control mechanism throughout the local, infrastructure, the social infrastructure, the social fabric. And it's just amazing to me that none of these people saw this coming. I mean, they really hated Trump that bad because of whatever reason. I'm not sure, because Trump had an immigration ban on certain countries that was actually pretty positive towards other, Muslims maybe, or even people from people who would support Palestine, because they were already in this country and they were able to work and there was no ban on them. It was just a matter of keeping immigration under control in this country so that we wouldn't lose the country altogether, which we're obviously losing now, given what's going on down at the southern border. And there's 10 million immigrants coming in every single day, larger than the size of 3 or 4 states. I can already see them here. All right. Now, I lost my New York Post article, of course. But, okay. So let's switch back to this a little bit. There's so many ads. It just gets worse and worse every year. That should be like a historical truth about living, is that the longer you live, the more ads you're going to see. Okay. So I had another point to make here, but oh, that's right. I wanted to read some of the comments. everybody is pretty anti-Hamas, pro-Israel in these comments on New York Post. Even, let's see, 5 years ago, I want to say that a lot of the New York Post audience was not necessarily super conservative, but it seems to have gotten stronger as Rupert Murdoch has kind of further stabilized, I guess, this conservative narrative that they got at the New York Post. All right, simple two-step process to neutralize Iran. First, destroy oil refineries. Iran has lots of oil, but limited and antiquated refining capacity. Okay, so this person, Roberto Corleone, wants to raise the price of oil for all of us because of this. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's effectively stating that he supports the destruction of their oil refining. Okay, this is a valid comment here from Ozka something Pete. The Iranians are reportedly 1 year away from having an arsenal of nuclear weapons, just enough to wipe out Israel. Of course, there are submarines that have many times that power, and Iran would be wiped out by you-know-who. No one wants that escalation. Israel did not start this conflict. Iran backed Hamas. Now they don't like punishment that is being delivered daily to them. Time to wipe Hamas out, and if Iran flinches, to send a very powerful message. Well, these are hawks here, but this is such a difficult situation because A, we don't know if this is true. There's been no major proof or evidence, and any mainstream report that would indicate that Iran is 1 year away, everyone would question because there's so much distrust now in the media. And unless it is attached to a bunch of evidence and not just statements from the Pentagon or the Defense Department, like photographs, just tons of documents directly from Iran that have been translated, documents from the Pentagon, stuff like that. I mean, people have lost complete faith in the media itself and to a greater degree in the institutions in this country. And these calls for war have been so perverted over the years. I mean, the most famous one recently is Colin Powell lying about weapons of mass destruction that Iraq maintained. And Bush wanted to go in and take out Saddam Hussein because he wanted to finish the first Gulf War that his father prematurely ended. So, yeah, and the price for that was enormous. The financial cost, the cost in sending troops over there, the horrific injuries, the IEDs. I had several friends who, if they weren't physically injured, they certainly had PTSD, who were forced to go over there because they were stupid enough to enlist in the army after high school. And, if anyone has had to deal with some of the PTSD side effects from other people who have PTSD from dealing with all this stuff and then taking it out on me, it's certainly me. I can't go into that, but Biden enriched Iran by lifting the Trump sanctions. How people, my eyes, I'm telling you. Wow. Let me zoom. Okay, let me start this again. Biden enriched Iran by lifting the Trump sanctions. How people of the so-called left are oblivious to how this fuels terrorism, pun intended, is beyond me. Our trans LGBTQIA plus supporters also support Iran and terrorism. How? That's actually a pretty good point. You would wonder why there are so many different liberal groups who support these really weird things, like the LGBTQT whatever stuff. And then they also support Iran and terrorism. Like, what is this other than the fact that we are living with more and more people who don't support traditional policies, supporting Israel against these pro-Hamas idiots, and supporting the destruction of our fundamental rights like free speech, where they're going in and tearing everything down, tearing websites down, tearing the banners down in New York. Anyone who supports Israel is suddenly the enemy of these people. Disgustingly embarrassing. Iran's proxies are attacking with impunity our military, international maritime vessels, as well as our navy. But it took Israel to respond while our Biden administration sits silently, showing our foes once again we have no leadership in the United States. Trump's return cannot come soon enough. I strongly doubt that Trump's ascent back into the White House in 2024/2025 will quickly solve any of this. I think that's putting way too much faith in President Trump, and a lot of these things are beyond his control. Yes, these wars are funded with U.S. taxpayer dollars. That's something that the United States government has some control over, like Ukraine and limiting the Israel is more complicated though, right? Because there's a limiting factor in that you can't cut off funding to Israel because Israel will get crushed by a coalition of Muslim, Middle Eastern armies. I mean, we're just talking about Iran here. And then you've got this whole thing where you have to sabotage Iran, but you don't want to hurt the Iranian people. But the only way to do that is by sanctioning the shit out of Iran. And there are so many Iranians in New York. And, frankly speaking, like the Iranians are Persian. They're, Persians are what, like half European. They've just been under the Shah. And they've now, what, for like the last 500 years or whatever, been in a predominantly Muslim country. But it's, I've known a lot of, not like a lot, but I've known, a good number of Iranians for the years. I've never met anyone from Iran who wasn't very smart, wasn't very articulate, good looking. I mean, the women from Iran are, generally speaking, everyone that I've seen are very, very attractive. They take really good care of themselves. They don't have this politically correct culture. And it is, you think about what the United States government has done to Iran, and it's awful. But then again, you have these unhinged leaders in Iran who are trying to take out Israel. So what are you going to do? It's just a very delicate situation. All these peace deals, like even the thing that Jared Kushner apparently pushed through during the Trump administration, and the stuff, remember when we were growing up in the 90s with Clinton and the original Bush with Yasser Arafat and I want to say what was it, Shiraz or whatever, the prime minister in Israel. or well, now I'm forgetting his name. He was unfortunately assassinated, right? Let's see. What was his name? I used to have this stuff. Yeah, Rabin, sorry, Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat. They used to get together, but these peace deals were always temporary. I can still remember the day. I think I may have been in high school, I may have been in middle school when there used to be Channel 1 every morning on television, and they had Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat and Anderson Cooper, as everyone knows, the same Anderson Cooper, was the main anchor for Channel 1, and he was young back then. It was like his first job out of college. I can kind of still remember that. I can remember the next day when Rabin was assassinated. I can remember Anderson Cooper talking about that. I don't know. I'm getting sidetracked here, but these peace deals are temporary, always temporary between the Palestinians and Israel, always throughout my life, and they probably always will be. And that's also what you've seen with Israel in general, is that any peace deal with Israel, with these terrorist states, only lasts for a short period of time before something happens like this, and then Israel comes in with an iron fist with funding from the US, and then they just, tear everything down. And I'm not lessening what Israel is doing to Palestine or Gaza right now at all. I'm a pacifist. I don't believe in war. Um, but these idiots from Hamas coming in on hang gliders and parachutes, um, and taking hostages. I mean, what do you expect? And of course, there was some operation there where Israel stood down. Of course. The Biden Obama policies, everybody blames Biden and Obama for this. And maybe to a large extent, Joe Biden is responsible for funding Iran, which then gave some of this funding to their proxies. And Obama did this as well. But I don't know. I think that there's more to it than just that. There's certain things that the United States can't control. I hope to God we do not get involved in that conflict. We have enough drama and trauma to deal with at home. We need to put America first before any nation. That's very astute. But the problem is, if something happens like this in the Middle East, it's unavoidable for the U.S. not to get involved. It's one thing to say that the U.S. should stay out of Ukraine, which they should. And there was I want to also, speaking of getting sidetracked here, I wanted to bring up this. Solivav. Okay. So there's this Russian streamer who, of course, Newsweek is calling a propagandist. He's not. Television presenter Vladimir Solivav issued a demand to the United States military during a recent broadcast. I wouldn't say it was a demand. I don't speak Russian, but to characterize this as some sort of, see, here's the thing. They're trying to frame this as if it's coming directly from the Kremlin. It's not. That's like saying anything Alex Jones says is coming directly from the Biden White House. He's an independent podcaster, streamer. He's been streaming for a very long time. He's been everywhere. He's been in a lot of media in the US. You'd probably recognize his face if we pull it up. He's a very, I mean, I've listened to some of the stuff that he said, and he has a very wise approach to things. He's a little bit hawkish, but so they're claiming that he is kind of like making this statement on behalf of the Kremlin by wanting or issuing this demand that the US vacates all of its installations in Europe. Ramstein, huge base in Germany, all the bases in Italy, stuff we've got in Poland, and that Russia immediately takes those over. On the heels of this Ukrainian situation. And if anything, Solivov is predicting that when our global hegemony and the dollar fails and the United States empire starts to crumble even more than it already has in the past, 4 years, 3 years, Russia will swoop in and start to apply pressure to some of those bases. And that will obviously create an immediate world war right there. However, the only thing protecting those bases are the US nuclear stockpile. And that's even worse because then we would have a global thermonuclear war between Russia and the US. And knowing what you know about US leaders, it would be the United States who immediately hits the button, sends something up to fire the first strike. You know that, the way that the United States acts around the world and the insane worldview that a lot of these people have, including Jake Sullivan, who's a national security advisor to President Biden, formerly associated strongly with Hillary Clinton. These people want destruction. They want to harm as many people as they possibly can. And, Newsweek, it's so ironic because it is a propagandist newspaper, yet they're accusing this independent Russian streamer, probably one of the most famous political streamers in Russia, of being a mouthpiece for Putin. I'm not 100% saying that's true or not, because what we hear in Western media and what I see are two different things. Putin does have track record of going after political enemies in one way or another. So I don't 100% saying that one way or the other, but you would think that given what I've experienced in my own life and have seen with my own two eyes, that Canada, United States applies way more pressure to its citizens than Russia does. All right. I think we got a couple tweets here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about your girl Taylor Swift. She's got these boxes at these NFL games, and those are pretty difficult to get. Usually they have to be booked at least 6 months, if not a year in advance. And they're usually now in the modern NFL managed by season ticket holders, and they typically have one box for auxiliary, so the owners of the team, media representatives. Every single stadium that Taylor Swift goes to, she's got this box. She's always out front and center, cheering on Travis Kelce. And if you've seen them together, there's absolutely no chemistry whatsoever. So you're really wondering whether this is a completely staged situation. It's clear it's fake. But it's like, why is it? Why are they, setting this up, and why are they making such a big deal out of this? And like, does Taylor Swift have some back channel media deal with Fox News, CNN, CBS to subtly improve NFL messaging, or even, slightly impact ratings for the NFL? I don't know. But she's had, or maybe even just soften her image up a little bit, or I don't know. It just seems all weird. Yeah, and why does the NFL show her so much? That's the other thing. Remember when Brett Favre was retiring, or these other stories like Tom Brady when he joined the Bucks? They all make a big deal out of this, and during the game, there's like 25% of the commentary is about Tom Brady or Brett Favre. Or if you look back, this is a relatively new thing in sports where they make a few things or a few players the main topic. I don't know why they do. Is this some propaganda technique or something? Here's a comment by David Campbell Jr. If you wonder why the Chiefs are struggling, here's your answer. Mr. Kelsey has a lot of distractions going on. I've heard that as well. Oh, was Taylor Swift Person of the Year? Okay, we're over our time here. I'm going to just play this to conclude the stream. Another Laura Loomer. I don't mean to show a bunch of Laura Loomer tweets. Not my intent. Like what she puts out normally. Okay. This okay. 12 hours ago, maybe 10 hours ago, 11 hours ago. Tweet is, everyone is starting to feel it. I'm not sure what Laura Loomer is referring to. Some energy that everybody feels in the air. Here's what Karl Kochek's ghost said. Stolen elections have consequences. John Moses B. A foreboding of what is coming. How can anyone not feel it? Even the WEF knows. This is the year. This is the crossroads, where everyone will choose one path or the other. Make no mistake, this is a spiritual war, and it is for keeps. Now is a time for everyone to be brave. I fully agree with this part of it. This is a spiritual war. I was reading the Bible, or a couple verses from the Bible last night, and parts of yesterday were amazing. Like this faith restoration came in, and people were nice for one day, at least people in my life. But, I just assume that people are going to get back to the grind this week and that's going to fade very quickly. But you kind of, yesterday, because it was Christmas, you felt as if, wow, people are under a lot of stress. And it's not just me, just, random people. And I was kind of preparing for how the Empire would strike back against me over the past 4 months. Um, and everything that they always do this, it's the same playbook. They will, I have this revolving thing where they can immediately accuse me of doing anything wrong based on claiming that I posted something on the internet and that it's somehow, criminal act. And then I was reading about people being swatted on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, their families being swatted. And I have the reverse part of that where, like, if I post something on the internet, I also immediately accused of wrongdoing. And I've never created a scene. I've never threatened anyone in my entire life. I'm a pacifist. I've never even been in a fist fight aside from, with my brothers growing up or, in grade school. But I try to avoid conflict, right? That's my point. And with women, younger women, you have the opposite problem where then they can say or do anything and it's immediately believed. And then you're always in the wrong if you are a man somewhat within their age range. As long as you're not an elderly guy, and they would just be like, whatever, this is some older guy, yada, yada, yada. But then it gets, the tables are turned. Whereas I think for most people, it's kind of the opposite, where it's just randos. Like I have just a bunch of randos, but since they're women, they're immediately believed. And I have never even met, spoken to, or seen them before they started this whole operation. So similar, but different. Okay. So I think there is a spiritual war going on. Everyone knows that. I think people do need to be brave. People need to put spiritual armor on. That's what I do every day. These things will come into your heart, and God will send them through the angel of truth to you and in your heart, and you'll feel immediately motivated to act. As long as you understand, I mean, that it's the spiritual war is a war of peace, meaning um, it's a war waged through peaceful lovers, meaning, lovers of control. It's a spiritual war waged through non-physical conflict. It's a war that's waged through lawful and peaceful speech and information and evidence, and through seeking guidance from God. Prayers for Kevin Smith. My cousin is recovering from brain surgery and not doing well. Prayers much appreciated. I'm praying right now, Kevin. Paul Sizupala. Yep, they're terrified, so they're going to try exponentially more desperate measures. Denny Green, the old coach of the Vikings. One of the best coaches the Vikings have ever had. Agreed. Drafted Randy Moss out of Marshall. It's been the subject of many Christmas gatherings, I can assure you. Remnant. It's more than a feeling, but the word feeling is how people describe it. It's coming, and it's coming soon. Something is on its way. Jesse. The rabbit here emoji. I've been feeling it, building for a long time, but it's strong right now. I don't feel safe. Jacob. Even more reason to spread the light. Darkness will never win. Juan Belverde. Feel what? Someone enlighten me. Brittany Ray. Winter of Death. I think that's parody or sarcasm regarding Fauci. Fauci said that we'd have a winter of death if people wouldn't get more vaccinated. Alex Woodruff. Dark days ahead. Derek Habel. FYI. Your check mark is still gone. I like your posts. It feels like there is going to be something big happen to mess up things so Biden gets a reset, or Hillary. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's actually a good comment here from Omel M. Oh wow, I didn't realize I could read it from this screen as well. It's probably a little bit better to do that. This is a self-amplifying and self-fulfilling prophecy. These types of memes are particularly dangerous because people will pick them up and run with them, and you may not like where they go. Well, the first part was decent there. This isn't Q. I mean, we're just Laura Loomer is just saying that she feels something. I don't really know that much about Q, but apparently a lot of people got really into that. All I knew is that there were like these random postings online and that people really started to think that there was some gravitas behind it. But yeah, I do think that this is sort of a spiritual thing. I think it was a way to distract from like the message and the spiritual energy that we were all feeling, if anything. That's, I think, what Q was trying to do. Tickets guy. I feel it. Spiritual. Doge Venture. We all sense feel it. Yeah, I feel it. Rodrigo. Oh, it's coming. I don't know what, but something is coming. I mean, look, it could be a positive. I'm generally pretty positive in anticipating potential outcomes. Justin Neal. Yes, indeed. We got, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Oh, David Swanson, the dam broke October 7th. I don't know. Well, that was when Hamas, everyone says October 7th. Why can't they just say that was when Hamas parachuted into southern Israel and took a bunch of Israelis hostage? Yeah, October 7th was a materially important event, probably the most important event in all of this, because all of that has been prophesized thousands of years ago. And we're seeing some of it play out right now. I was talking earlier about the Yitzhak Rabin, Yasser Arafat stuff, and there was always, in the 90s at least, conflict over there, and there's always bombings on the West Bank and stuff. But we've never quite seen anything like we've seen on October 7th. Well, so here's the thing, like, yeah, I'm a fan of Trump. Um, but everyone's like, okay, well, Trump's going to resolve this. JD here. JD's got to start doing stuff for his own outcomes. He's got to step up, and maybe he does. Maybe he does a lot more than I know. But I'm just saying in general, like I don't know anything about him. I would say in sum, most people don't do enough to advocate for themselves, for their family, and for the larger society that they live in. And I've noticed that for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. And admittedly, I didn't do as much as I probably should have been doing either until 10 years ago. Um, it's something you got to learn to do uh, to some extent. And then the other part of it is instinct. Um, you get better as you gain experience with it, and but more people have to step up. No one's gonna save you. No one's gonna pull know, yourself up by the bootstraps. You're the only one who can do that. Even if you're, well, in the analogy that you're in combat and you're injured and you're pulled off the battlefield by other soldiers, um, they'll come and visit you in the hospital once, twice, maybe weekly, if if they really care about you and you're really good buds. But that's it. You're not going to get anything more than that. Even your family, there's limits. So the only person who can help yourself is yourself. I don't even know if it's a great awakening. I think people are getting more in touch with God. And I think a lot of these things are being brought more out in the open. That you can not only spiritually feel it with more intensity, but you can now actually visibly see it, and it's obvious. Okay, got some trolls in here. Yes, everything feels heavier. Laura S with little terrier profile photo. Been feeling it for 3 years. Here's someone who's got this blue wave emoji in their bio. You can tell they're an asshole. Scadisi. Coming collagen explosion. Yeah. Assholes. Well, I'm way over my prescribed time limit here that I was going to govern myself with. But as long as we are near an hour, let me just find one more here. Ooh, we got a Mike Flynn tweet. Let's hear this. Play this and then we'll end the stream.
Necessary for people to believe this information in order.
Ooh, the Stanford Cyber Policy Center. Sounds credible. Sounds strong. Sounds like government.
To weaken democratic institutions. You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions.
Oh, it's an AI video.
Enough dirt. Plant enough conspiracy theorizing that citizens no longer know what to believe. Once they lose trust in their leaders,
this brings up a really solid point. Our judicial system has been so perverted by the Democrats, and people are so beleaguered that even if there isn't a civil war over the next year, I think that people are going to be so terrorized, and using the same term again, beleaguered by what the Democrats have done to families, to ourselves, to our friends, that this country will slowly fade out until another generation, 20 years down the line, comes up and starts to prop things up again. We're going to go through a 20-year period here because of everything that they've done to erode, and the system only works because people have faith in it. That's the whole crux of the legal system. Judges have absolutely no power whatsoever. Do they have militia force at their disposal? No, they don't. Typically speaking, most courts have a they have a security force depending on the jurisdiction. In Minnesota and Wisconsin, typically that's a sheriff. So they have a sheriff's office with a team of deputies that usually someone senior, and then they have like a lot of junior deputies that they first get trained in and start out there. And then they have this full faith and credit situation between different states, so that their edicts from up high on the bench can then be enforced through all the different law enforcement agencies throughout the country, depending on the flavor. But the only reason that the trust in the judicial system itself works is because people have faith in that the decisions that are actually being made are warranted. But no one has any faith whatsoever. Like this radical decision coming out of Colorado, taking Trump off the ballot, this will only get worse. and worse and worse. And you're seeing these constitutional sheriffs throughout the country team up, and they've already started to not enforce, like that situation down in New Mexico where the New Mexico governor issued an executive order to suspend the Second Amendment. And then there are just a bunch of sheriffs who vowed not to enforce it. That's what that looks like. And we're reaching that point when we have very few fundamental rights. We have a right to free speech. We have a right to bear arms. We have a right to due process. We have a right to um, uh, certain forms of liberty like travel. We saw that eroded during the pandemic, right? The lockdown orders and stuff. All of these things have been trampled on, and no one has any faith from either side. And so, yeah, I think that's what we're going to see in the next year. Is that's just going to worsen? Let's read the rest of this. So, General Flynn, sir, you are the quote raw sewage. You are the greatest. All disinformation mouthpieces. You are the one that started America on the road towards socialism. It is you, Barack Obama, that created the incredible levels of divisiveness within our country. Things are really bad. Things are very, very divisive. Hearing that from everyone. Instead of speaking for strong black men and strong black families and all American families during your 8 years in office, you furthered us on this horrible path of race baiting and name calling. You and your many lefty associates used words and phrases like deplorable, irredeemable, racist, cultist, far right, conspiracy theorist, dictator, Confederates, election deniers, COVID deniers. All these and many more chosen intentionally to destroy the fabric of our culture and our society. I'm sorry, Barack, but you are the one in the wrong here. If you were true to American values, ideals, and principles, you would back off the controls you have over this White House, and Obama does have significant controls, and speak out about the destructive nature of globalism and socialism. I won't hold my breath waiting for you. Americans have awakened to the destructive nature of your presidency, and thank God that good will triumph over evil. Merry Christmas, and I'll pray for you as we go into this new year, a year of historic consequences for America, a year where your vision for America will be put into the rearview mirror of history. God bless America. Let's read some comments here. Okay, so we had a bunch of people taunt General Flynn here, like John Cipher. Your story is so sad. If I was General Flynn, I wouldn't react to this. I'd just ignore it. He's pissed, I get it. I mean, anybody in Flynn's position would be livid over what they've done to him. And to know, well, they bankrupted him and legal fees and everything else. But he didn't even, as far as I know, maybe for a day or two. I don't even think that. I don't think even Flynn went to prison. So he hasn't even experienced like even 1% here of what the like people who have been mistreated in these J6 cases have experienced. Okay, so this is kind of toxic and negative, all these comments. Well, here's actually a pretty interesting one. General, were you in a coma when Bush Cheney wrecked the place and Obama came in and served their third and fourth term? We've had a roster of really destructive presidents over the past 15 years. Bush and Cheney were horrible. Outside of Trump, but I'm saying with Bush and with Obama and with Biden, of course, Trump has been the only bright spot, the only um, peace we've had from a lot of these global wars and conflicts. A few kind of popped up here or there, but we never got involved. Here's a good one. Obama is a criminal that loves hot dogs. Boy, I should probably. Haha. Conspiracy Facts said, maybe this is an ad? Yeah, okay, this is an ad. No, it's not. I don't know. Okay, there's a video here. The winners will be those who hold Bitcoin in a private wallet. Yeah. Mark Ebner said, leave Rhode Island forever, traitor. JD said, Obama seems to be fearful that the leftist ruse is unwinding. Ooh. Callie in Minnesota said, go fuck yourself, General Flynn. Carl, 100%, 100%. Mike Rogers says, that's right, General, we are behind you. Here's a picture of a bunch of war criminals. Edison Baptiste. You are spot on. Let's find another good one here. Tim J. Barry was the ultimate Manchurian candidate. Not even born in the United States. Everyone knows it, and his freaking wife is a dude. Seeing more and more AI videos on X. It's the way of the future, but still. If I had any prediction for 2024, it would be that there's going to be a huge increase in the number of AI videos on the internet. I think a lot of these channels and Twitter will be increasingly dependent on ChatGPT. And the other thing I was talking about with Agent X is that life is getting easier and easier, and people are getting dumber already after like a year of having access to a lot of these AI technologies and food delivery and stuff. But you notice how all this stuff came out in concert with one another. We had food delivery basically come out at the same time that we had widespread access to AI. And we also had DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion hires flood into corporate America to take over a lot of these analytical roles in science or STEM. And, it's almost like it was planned from a more high level. And all the puzzle pieces fit in well with one another. And I was messing around with some AI stuff and trying to streamline a process that I've used and that I've built custom, kind of created, because I like to innovate. I like to do things that are brand new. I don't know, that's just the way my brain works. And I also liberally copy certain things, like certain processes, but I also like to figure out and hack either slightly novel solutions or just kind of come out with my own overhaul of something that's already out there. So anyways, this process that I'm referring to, it's kind of a 25% hack on something that a lot of people already do. And it's trusted, it's proven. But this new AI approach to streamlining that process probably would save me hours every time that I do this, hours, and it would reduce the cost depending on the quality that I want. And so I was thinking, especially as it relates to the internet and AI, if I can do this so easily, and I am a power user in some respects, I'm kind of sophisticated when it comes to stuff on the internet and computing. Not to say that I have all the answers, I don't. But once I figure something out, I'm pretty good with it. And there's a lot of people who are better than me out there, and a lot of people who are younger than me and have more energy and have more access to fresh, new, innovative strategies. And I think that, it's going to be challenging. I think there's going to be niche channels and niche Twitter feeds and stuff that are basically guaranteeing you that they're not going to use AI, or they're going to use minimal AI. Especially tweets and stuff. Because you can kind of feel, if you watch someone like Trump, you can kind of tell when Trump is tweeting. You can tell when Elon Musk is tweeting. You can tell when Elon Musk might use Grok when he's having Grok rewrite something. If you're reading one of his tweets, or other people as well. And, you know, I think in the near term, the real battle over AI is going to be this tension between kind of these neo AI Luddites, meaning those who refuse to bend to the knee, or bend their knee to AI, effectively stubbornly continue to use manual processes. And in some ways, the quality is much higher. You just don't get as much output if it's something very simple. And in other ways, the quality isn't as high. So I do think that that's probably what we're going to see. And there's going to be like a lot of people advocating for one or the other, saying, oh, well, but overall, I think that content on the internet, if people thought that we have way too much now, it's probably going to get a zillion times worse with AI, because it's just going to be you know, you have like an unlimited capability, but then you also have rate limiting with AI where you have to pay a certain number of credits for some of these services to produce content and then allow you to download it. So I don't know if that's going to be kind of the first step in this social credit score system too, now that I've seen it more and more and I've had time to think about it. You know, capitalism, paying for things, it does cost, to build models, to build software, to pay for computing resources and data centers. I get that, I understand it. But it's also, AI is so ubiquitous that, especially with software, you can copy anything at this point, and then you have this scale where things become infinitely less expensive over time. And I think that is this paywall boundary that's so easy to attack from a social credit score system. You just say anything you do, because it's handled by this AI service, you have to pay to do. Do you want to post on Twitter? You have to pay $1 per post or something like that. I'm just being arbitrary, but all right, I'll be back later tonight. You guys have a great rest of your Christmas weekend. Most people have today off because Christmas came on a Sunday. Okay. Actually, I'll try to be back later tonight around 9 or 10. See ya. Bye.